meeting, um, that is intended to, well, it stops obviously the live stream. There may be a residual part of the hearing remaining, and I can deal with our IT people. Sorry, I'm not on, to see if I can get that removed. So the idea is not to keep it on forever, but to make it accessible while we are conducting the hearing, just as if someone could walk in the back of a courtroom. So Ms. Smith, are you representing the city?
Yes, I'm Erica Smith and I represent the city of Atlanta.
Okay, any more? I know Mr. Michael Habeff. Is there anyone else who would like to introduce themselves? Mr. Arden, who do you represent?
I represent the Habeff and the first two entities listed as defendants.
As defendants?
Yes.
Okay.
And we are the owner of the property.
Okay. And anyone else, Mr.
Good afternoon, Judge Barwick. My name is Alcide Honore. I represent the current occupant of the party.
Okay. And tell me who that is?
The current occupant is an operator of a lounge operation there. We were very recently informed of the nature of this hearing. However, I do have an announcement that may help us cut to the chase, so to speak.
In that case, you get to go first.
All right.
Tell me your name again. I'm sorry, counsel.
Sure. My name is Alcide Honore. I apologize, Your Honor. I have not yet had the opportunity to file an entry. Last name is spelled Honore. First name Alcide.
I got the first name. I was correct in my spelling of the first name, Honore. Is that how you say it?
It is.
Okay, Mr. Honore, I'm real interested in that announcement you have to make.
Sure. So with respect to the current occupant, we would like to make the offer or suggestion to the city that should we be allowed 7 days to vacate, we'll make no objection to the issuance of the restraining order. I would say the second matter with respect to the manner in which the order is written and the extent to which it may impact the current owner. We certainly don't want to see any prejudice to the current owner of the property. There's separate litigation, which we hope may be very soon resolved with the current owner based on the exit of the current occupant, as well as the release of funds that have been paid into the court's registry to the current owner. As far as rents are concerned, I don't think the current owner was aware of that because it was not reflected in the recent answer. Just thirdly, and just to quite frankly close out my remarks, the current owner does not consider themselves responsible for the uptick in crime in the city. However, to the extent that they can withdraw any further issues with the city or the landlord insofar as this matter is concerned, they're happy to, within 7 days, exit the premises, giving their employees a brief period of notice so that they may conduct their affairs appropriately.
Now, let me ask you some questions, Mr. Honore, and sort of take the burden off of others of kind of being first out there. So number one, is your client currently still operating?
That's correct, Your Honor. Yes.
And do you propose as part of any settlement that your client would continue to operate during these upcoming 7 days?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. So essentially, you're offering to vacate completely within 7 days, release the money to the owner, and I didn't understand the last part.
Well, the last part, Your Honor, was just a statement in defense of the current occupants with respect to some of the allegations in the complaint. Barring our agreement to forego any opposition to the city's request for the restraining order. We want to make clear for the purposes of the record that that does not suggest somehow that the current occupant accepts responsibility for some of the activity that it has been, held responsible for.
Okay, so you're not admitting liability.
That's correct.
Okay, and you represent Encore.
That's correct, Your Honor.
Okay. All right, Ms. Smith, I'll let you go first.
Well, I'm happy to hear that. And if that's acceptable to the owners of the property, the city will consent to that.
Okay, Mr. Arden.
I think it's a reasonable proposal. I actually, Michael or Greg, do you want to weigh in on it? Is that acceptable to you?
I agree it's a reasonable proposal as long as the bar or the lounge continues to offer security at all times that they're open and continues to have a presence of an Atlanta police officer. I'm okay with that.
And Sam, it would be helpful to get some clarity on the monies that were paid into court, since we have no receipt or understanding of what that amount is.
I'll just sit here and y'all talk. I think that's to you, Mr. Honore.
And I'm happy to update everyone again. This is, relatively short turnaround time with respect to, my specific notice of the hearing. I have no problem getting you all a statement of the balance of the court registry. And my understanding normally in these sorts of situations is we can enter into some sort of a consent for the distribution of those funds.
What other litigation is pending?
A dispossessory, Your Honor.
Okay, so is that in Fulton County?
It's in the magistrate court, yes.
Okay, so money has been, shouldn't that be pretty easy to check?
Yes.
Okay. How much do you think it is, Mr. Honore, about?
It would be approximately the last 3 months of rent.
Okay.
And what
Your Honor, I'm showing it north of $30,000.
And I've been authorized to make a deposit in the neighborhood of $9,000 today by the tenant.
So 30, and a couple of people were talking at once. Mr. Arden or Mr. Craig Habiff, what did you say?
The balance is $30,126.
Okay.
That is going off of what the holdover rent would be calculated at.
Okay.
There's some additional provisions in the lease that would have allowed us to collect what we would have received by collecting on a new lease, which was scheduled to start on January 1st, 2022, which we were not permitted to do because the tenant was in holdover and refused to vacate.
Okay.
But I think in this circumstance, we're willing to forgo in order to get this wrapped up very quickly.
Yeah, why don't I suggest, Mr. Honore, you and I can deal with the dispossessory is not this case. So why don't you and I deal with that? And we'll do a separate consent, and hopefully we can wrap that up and focus on what TRO is going to be in this case.
Okay.
And Your Honor, this is Erica Smith, and I was going to say all that has nothing to do with my case. So if they could settle that on a separate matter.
All right. It is 10 minutes after 1 o'clock. Regretfully, I'm not going to be in the office tomorrow and Friday. If you need me, I'm going to give you until 4 o'clock to get everything worked out and on paper. If you need to have a hearing between 4 and 5, let me know. I'm right here and my camera works. If I don't hear from you by 5, I am leaving to go on my trip, but you should not burglarize my home. And I'm leaving to go on my trip, and I'll see y'all next week when your emergency reappears. But you have till 4 o'clock to end this one, okay?
Mr. Honore, what is your a good phone number for you?
Well, let's not tell YouTube. Put it in the chat.
Okay.
And I'll stay on while you do that. All good?
Yes, thank you.
I'm going to take us off YouTube. Mr. Honore, you're invited to all of my cases. And it's good to see everybody. There's some good old familiar faces on here, and I appreciate everybody's hard work. Let me know by 4 o'clock if you need me. And otherwise,